Yo, how's it going? Today we'll be reviewing April 29th. And yeah, I have a graphic at the beginning of the video, and I'll be having graphics for each match as we go along. So the channel is improving a little bit. Hooray! Okay, now this episode on the 29th of April was, it had progressed to the semifinals portion of the TNT Championship Tournament, and I'm going to bring the brackets up. You can see them now. Yeah, okay, so that shows who advanced to the second round. Obviously, you see two faces against each other, and then in the second brackets you see one of those two faces from the first round into the bracket for the second round. Obviously that tells you who won, but just in case there's somebody out there who haven't really followed wrestling tournament brackets before, that's how you understand it. Same shit as anything else. Alrighty, so the first promo that kicked off the first thing that happened that kicked off the show was a promo by Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes promoting their match against each other. And Darby Allin basically sold the angle that who do you want as your champion? Some corporate sheep who's full of himself basically, or somebody who's relentless like Darby Allin. And I have a little summary of the match here, and then we're going to talk about it. So the first match, Cody Rhodes defeats Darby Allin for the TNT Championship Tournament semifinals match. Alrighty, although there was a lot of hype for this match, it was a rather mediocre affair. I mean, Darby Allin, it was like he focused on Cody Rhodes' knee for most of the match's offensive game. Like Darby Allin's offensive game focused entirely on strikes and body collisions. Like he would strike you and kick you or something, it might drop kick you, then he would run and bounce off the ropes and bang into you somehow. Like it didn't really seem totally offensive, right? It just seemed to be like constantly at the other person, but not really in an effective way. That's just the way it seemed to me. Yeah, Darby Allin's offensive game was entirely focused on strikes and body collisions, while Cody Rhodes had a more organic feel, and his game focused on counters, reversals, and reading the opponent. And then what he would do offensively would depend on how the wrestler would come at him. If the wrestler came at him in a certain way and then he struggled and they were kind of side by side, he might grab you and do a gut-wrench powerbomb or something. Like, it was very organic, very moment-based, which is good, right? You don't want wrestlers who fall into a pattern and can't really adapt to what's going on around them sometimes. Allin really showed a lot of focus, and his character came off as angry and with a reckless abandon. He really put forward his character very strongly here. Cody displayed a lot of defiance and endurance. However, Cody Rhodes went to try to do a coffin drop off the top ropes to Darby Allin because Darby Allin had pulled off the Crossroads finisher on Cody earlier in the match. So Cody's like, oh yeah, well screw you, I'm going to do your finisher. But Cody Rhodes, but Darby Allin got his knees up, right? And it hit into Cody Rhodes' back, so Cody Rhodes was like on the ground. Darby Allin went up to the opposite ring post on the same side of the ring, and then did his coffin drop. But of course, Cody Rhodes managed to roll over on the side and pin Darby Allin to get the victory. I give this a 2.5 out of 5 because a lot of, like, it was physical, but that doesn't always mean it's a good match. In my opinion, like, it was long, and it wasn't like long enough to have a couple of spots. It was active throughout the whole match, but a lot of it was kicking and striking and like banging, running and banging into each other. There wasn't really a whole lot of technical things happening. So I give that match, personally for me, a 2.5 out of 5, or 50%, or 5 out of 10, whichever you want to look at it as. I use a 5-star rating system myself, because that seems to be universally accepted and used in the wrestling community. Alrighty, so then after that, there was a promo for SCU and Scorpio Sky saying he wants to be a legend. He's got the face for it. He definitely could be a top guy. And personally, I don't understand why he wasn't in a TNT Championship Tournament. Like, I understand that they needed Cody to win because Personally, I think this is stupid, and nobody cares about this, and nobody wants him to do this, and everybody would be happy if he would just forget it, but he won't because he's full of himself. Cody Rhodes can't ever challenge for the world title again, so he had to have the championship, the TNT championship, right? Anyway, Scorpio Sky did a promo saying he wants to be a legend. I think he should have been in the tournament. I know Cody would have won it anyway, but it still would have put him a bit farther. Like, I don't understand why they put Colt Cabana in that tournament and Scorpio Sky they didn't. I mean, they would Lance Archer was getting a huge push, and he would have been his opponent. And even if Scorpio would have lost in the first round, it would have been such a huge opponent. It wouldn't have made him look so bad. I mean, as it is, Colt Cabana looks kind of bad because he's pretty much the same size as Brodie Lee, and he lost, right? So, if anything, I think the match they did book it wasn't really thought out, in my opinion. But anyway, after Scorpio Sky's promo, there was another promo by MJF, and he was on death's door, okay? He really was, from his hangnail. And he not only healed his hangnail, he overhealed his hangnail. And he's now being studied by the Pentagon. But he was supposed to come back for this episode, but he sliced his neck open with a nicked neck, and he nearly bled to death, but he managed to survive. and he will be on the episode, a couple episodes into the future from this one, because he cares about us so much. And so yeah, the second match of this episode was Wardlow, who defeated Musa. He completely destroyed Musa. Like, Musa is a black or African American wrestler. Trying to find the right way to address some of the minorities here, so forgive me if I don't pick out the right exact addressing. But anyway, this match between Wardlow and Musa, obviously Wardlow won because he's one of the huge-ass powerhouses. He's basically AEW's version of Brock Lesnar, in my opinion, only better, because he actually does enough moves when he needs to. He does constantly suplex all the time. Musa did manage one really cool move. Like, he jumped on the ropes and then he spun back, and then as he was spinning back, he turned his torso and he did a spin or two in the air, and he smashed Wardlow in the face with his knee. It looked really cool. I don't even know if it was on purpose. It kind of looked like he went to, like, kick him in the head or something, but was a bit misjudged his distance and hit him in the face with the knee instead because he didn't have enough space. But it looked cool, actually. It looked better than anything else, really. So and stumbled Wardlow, and he fell down to one knee, and he almost, like, he probably would have landed on his back, but he was close enough to the ropes for them to hold him up. Which is good, because if Wardlow got taken off his feet by a jobber, that would have. These matches are being graded based on these jobbers' performances and whether they're good enough, basically, to get a position with AEW. So if Musa had taken Wardlow off his feet, I think that would have really changed what Tony Khan had planned to do with him, whether Khan had made his decision before this match or not. But anyway, Wardlow won. But like I said, I'm sitting here and I'm describing what Musa did, and it was a cool move, but that was the only move he did, that one move. Other than that, he was just getting completely tossed around the ring and destroyed. The offense wasn't even at all. So I just gave that 2 out of 5, because really it was a one-sided match. And then there was a Bubbly Bunch segment. I can't remember what it is that they did. I think it was a flim flam where everybody was pretending to strike each other. It was extremely boring, but I can see how it adds to the episode. Next, the third match of the night was Best Friends, who defeated Sabian and Jimmy Havoc in a no disqualifications, no count-out match. It was a refreshing change from the first two matches, which both seemed one-sided for some reason. This match, however, was long, flowed in the ring and to the outside of the ring, with all the competitors using ladders and chairs against each other. Jimmy Havoc went to hit Chucky T with a chair, like he was standing above him, and he went to go down and hit, but Trent came in and like friggin' speared him, and I love that. Like, he's like, ah, like he does it really loud. It sounds really cool. I love it when he does that. Man, that was wicked. And then after that, Kip Sabian was fantastic. I have to say, with each, he did a number of notable moves, and each time his form was perfect. Like, him and Joey Janela have a bit of a falling out because Penelope Ford used to be married to Joey Janela, but then she divorced. And then she went with Kip Sabian, who bills himself as super bad, right? So basically, Kip Sabian stole Joey Janela's life, which I'm surprised there's not more of an angle built around that than what they did. But it almost makes sense because Kip Sabian is just a better wrestler. But anyway, all of his moves look really great. He was on point. Penelope Ford and Orange Cassidy got involved. But it was good. It wasn't in a way where it took away from the match, took out a competitor, and made it one-sided for a certain team's favor. No, it wasn't like that. It was entertaining. Yeah. The end, to finish it off, Chucky T took hold of Jimmy Havoc, who was perched on the top rope, and he does this wicked move. I don't know what it's called, man. But Jimmy Havoc was perched on the top, then Chucky T went behind him and grabbed him and then held him like this. But I don't know how he had grabbed him off the rope or whatever, but he did it in a way where he was holding him like this, but Jimmy Havoc's face was facing out. It wasn't like the Tombstone Piledriver where his face was facing towards Chucky's body, right? So he had him like this, and he ran and onto a pile of chairs in the middle of the ring. He came down, and it almost looks like a pile driver, but the body is like that. It just looks more vicious. It might be the same move, but visually it looks way cooler. Like that was a wicked finish, man. Normally matches with tables and ladders and chairs and stuff like that, when they go outside the ring, normally that takes away a lot from the match, but this is a case where it is a no disqualifications, no count out match. So technically I shouldn't lose a point because that's the type of match it's scheduled to be. So with that in mind, I gave this 3.5 out of 5. This was a really good match. And we saw some of the characters coming through too. Not only was it physical, but the character and the mentality of that wrestler, right, was the guys were working on that, or they were really trying hard to display the characters of the wrestling persona that they have, and it worked. It was really good. Gave that 3.5 out of 5. And then there was a promo for Britt Baker, and she was basically talking about how nobody is great as she is, and why everybody else on Earth has shitty, rotten teeth compared to her. Which is true, by the way. Which is true. You better check your teeth right now. Number 4, the fourth match was Shawn Spears, who defeated Baron Black. An average match out with the two guys who walked the line between midweight and heavyweight class wrestlers. Baron Black did manage some offense, but Spears continually led Black on. Then he would reverse the counter and keep control. Spears didn't show his heel character at all, really, and Baron Black is, in reality, a jobber at best with AEW, so there's nothing really he's going to portray as a character. He's not going to have a slow entrance coming in. He's not going to make a whole lot of contact with the crowd. He's not going to have a whole lot of struts. You know what I mean? He's not going to try to establish anything character-wise. He's a jobber. He's just there to go in, have a quick match, and leave. Based on how he performs physically, I think that determines on whether they give him a little bit more time for his entrances or not. I think that might be how they do it. I don't know. But in this match, like I had just read out, and in the end, Shawn Spears grabbed Baron Black and he hit his, the guy's here facing down, and then he runs and he does a C4. Then he finished that up with a textbook sharpshooter to submit Baron Black and get the win. But again, I gave this 2.5 out of 5 because both guys were involved, but Baron Black had almost everything he did reversed or countered. Either he would go to do a move and then end up with a move getting done on him, or it would be countered with a kick or a strike to the face or something. It was just a match where the offense was just really one-sided, right? And Shawn Spears didn't really show any of his heel character compared to the last match at all. I don't know. I just didn't think it was anything to write home about, which is surprising because I find usually Spears' match is pretty decent, but this one was meh. Then there was a segment, Technique by Taz. He was focusing on the blackout where Lance Archer stands up, and he was talking about how the height of the guy's head or his back to the ground is 9 feet, and how he has to like invert his opponent so they land on their back and stuff like that. Then there was a promo from Marko Stunt about his match against Brodie, where Marko Stunt was talking about how he won't give up and he's not afraid of anybody. Whatever. I'm not even going to say anything more on that. He was Marko Stunt was promoting his match with Brodie Lee, which there's nothing to know. It was a quick squash match. Brodie Lee completely destroyed Stunt, and he took the win with a sit-down powerbomb. 1 out of 5. Like, that's what I give it, because the match was like maybe 2 minutes at most, something like that. And Marko Stunt did not get one offensive move off, not a kick, not a punch, nothing. He was just a ragdoll. And the thing is, like, if he was a regular size, instead of being 100 pounds or 110 pounds, if he was like 160 or 180 and he had a normal height about him, then even if he's getting thrown across the ring and nothing more, it's more entertaining because it's a wrestler big enough to believe they could somehow win, right? So it gets you invested more. With Marko Stunt, you know for a fact he's going to lose. It's just basically a living rag practice dummy. That's why I don't really fussy his matches too much. There's not enough possibility of believability, if you will, to get into it. And there was a promo for Jon Moxley telling fans he will be back and to stay positive. It was different than his usual promo. So if it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm crazy, I'll kick your ass. Like, no, this was different. It was a pleasant change. I'm surprising that he could have cut a promo where he was gentle. He talked normally. He told fans to love people to love each other, that we're all through this together. You know what I mean? Let's not make things harder on each other than what we have to right now, which is a good message, because in the end, we're all trying to pull through this. For those of us who are not employed or trying to become employed, there's a lot of messed up things that are nobody's fault right now. So it was good. I actually liked it. It didn't have a whole lot to do with wrestling, but it was still a nice promo to have. I added to the episode, in my opinion. Then the feature episode of the night, Lance Archer, who defeated Dustin Rhodes. It was a TNT Championship Tournament semifinals match. It was a slow brooding match which went on for a while, with Dustin's usual overselling, like absolutely everything. A running kick or a punch, he'd be lying down on the ground, rolling out of the ring, like, oh my God, he may be a tall guy, but his endurance is through the floor. Ugh. Anyway, Dustin did manage to hit like the Code Red, the Crossroads, a lariat to running front flip, like off the apron, where he like runs and then flips and then lands on the guy back first. It's just something that meant to take a guy off his feet. But Dustin is like 260 and he's like 6'6". And when you look at him, he's not fat. Well, he might be 240, between 240 and 260, I would imagine. But still, somebody of that weight class and 6'6", and they're running and they jump and they land on you, their torso at first, that's going to hurt. It looks like it would be effective to me. That's about all he managed to do. I mean, Archer tossed Dustin around the ring as much as he could for Dustin being the size as he is. Yeah, really, like Archer used tosses and huge impact slams and punishing strikes. Here, strength outlasted experience. Archer outlasted Rhodes. Archer just basically tossed and dominated Dustin around and almost got pinned, but persevered through that. And he didn't end up hitting his blackout finisher. I think Dustin Rhodes is too tall for him to just get him over. It looks like it to me. So he ended up giving him a choke slam and the stupid head thrashes, which looks so fake. I do not understand why he does them. It looks so fake. Like, I'm supposed to use my imagination with wrestling and pretend it's something that other than what it is. That's fine. I could suspend reality a bit, but like, I am already taxed out from suspending reality by pretending Marko Stunt should be in the ring. Like, at this point, I need a little bit more believability, because, like, even reviewing a match with Marko Stunt takes all of a person's patience in terms of putting reality aside, right? I don't care if I sound anything like, to me, that's how it is. I mean, you can't have too many things that look stupid or totally unbelievable in one episode. Otherwise, people are going to say the whole thing was, you know, silly. But anyway, that match I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. Like, it wasn't the worst, but it really was one-sided. Like, Dustin definitely pulled off a number of moves. But again, this was another case of the match. If you make the match long enough, you're bound to get a couple of good spots. This was the same thing. It didn't have a lot of chemistry. It felt broken up. Like, Dustin oversold everything. He ended up bleeding all over the place. Like, if he has any strength left, no one's going to believe him because he oversells for everybody. 2.5 out of 5. And overall, this episode overall, all of the matches ran the same way. Slow and boring, then picked up and managed a couple of good spots. But that was it. No real hard-fought match. It was the only one that achieved that. Like, you would look at it and say, wow, that was a good match. That was a hard-fought match. You would have said that about the Best Friends in Havoc and Sabian tag match. But it doesn't really seem to quite get there, as it's a hardcore match. I mean, I didn't allow it to take away from any of the points I gave it when I graded it. That's why I got a 3.5 out of 5. So, like, that won't take away from the match itself. But as the show overall, and what you see and what you're presented with, it's just throwing chairs around. You know what I mean? Like, everything was a short, untasteful match, really, with people managing some offense back and forth, and then some guys just grabbing them and then suddenly doing their finishers and winning, right? Like, it wasn't really anything that was hard fought. And this match was great. It could have added that element, but it didn't because they went the hardcore route instead. And I don't know. It just took away from being considered a wicked match. And that's why this episode gets 2 out of 5. It wasn't great. To me, this episode, I mean, if you're grading this like you would, like you're in high school and 50% is a pass, then this episode would fail, because to me, it gets 2 points. It gets 40% or 2 out of 5. Like, the matches were held, like, all of the matches actually started. That gets you the first point. And then the second point was all the wrestlers seemed to be involved in their matches. There wasn't too much strutting or anything like that. So they weren't slowing. And there wasn't anybody constantly getting in and out of the ring, which is good too. That's why it gets another, 20%. But that was it. I can't give it any points on the qualities of the matches, because all the matches felt either one-sided, or it was a hardcore match, or too much outside of the ring. Like, it just didn't feel like... It didn't have that sports feel to it at all. Like, if it's supposed to have that sports feel, it's supposed to make you feel like it's regulated and it's following the rules and the referee's in control. I never felt like that throughout this whole episode. So anyway, that's the review for April 29th. It was 2 out of 5. Wasn't a great episode. If you're looking for hardcore type matches, or even if you're looking for really hard fought physical matches, this is not the episode for you either way. But anyway, this one went a bit long, but I like the format I'm using. I'm trying to... I mean, it's not bad to cover a 2-hour episode in 24 minutes, right? So it's definitely getting down there, but at the same time, I like to talk about each match, right? Like, I don't want to just sit here and read off like a little paragraph and then move on to the next one, right? Like, it's nice to talk about it a bit. But always, as with all of my reviews, all of these summaries are at the end of the video, so you can go there and read everything I'm saying. Also on ProWrestlingReviews.com, link is in the description. Thank you.